Following the Star Wars Battlefront 2 loot box controversy, EA's talked a lot about dedicating themselves to changing their ways towards listening to feedback, but one game that exists as living proof that EA hasn't changed at all is FIFA 19. It wasn't long ago that EA revealed that the chances of obtaining the best rewards in Ultimate Team card packs was less than 1%, a vague figure that could mean probabilities could be 1 in 500, 1 in 1000, 1 in 10,000, whatever EA wants it to be to maximize loot box purchases. Making matters worse is how players are given an unreasonable amount of limited time to obtain the game's best rewards, pressuring them into purchasing card packs while supplies last, as there isn't nearly enough time to be able to earn even a fraction of those rewards on time through gameplay alone, given the low chances of the best rewards appearing. Furthermore, players have also become fed up with how little effort EA seems to put into making significant strides and improvements with each iteration of FIFA. Many will argue that FIFA 19 feels like their laziest outing yet, as it feels less like a full-blown new entry and more like a patch to FIFA 18. Hell, some might even argue that each new entry lately has been a regression for the franchise. Now, among those who has been outspoken about their qualms with the FIFA franchise's stagnation, the latest entry's regression, and EA's practices as a whole, is a FIFA pro player going by the name of Kurt. Back in September, he uploaded a review on his YouTube channel in which he not only criticized FIFA 19 for getting the basics wrong and provided details about his qualms with the game's various mechanics and systems, he also called it the worst FIFA game to date. He also spent some time calling out yes men and pro players for simply letting the game's problems slide to appeal to EA rather than speaking out against them. And it wasn't long after the video was uploaded that Electronic Arts flagged Kurt's video with a copyright claim, despite the fact that the video didn't feature anything but his own unfiltered opinions and one short clip of the game that he recorded to highlight his qualms. Since then, Kurt has continued to be vocal about his issues with the game and the yes men on Twitter and via other YouTube videos he uploaded, and his criticisms eventually began to delve into the way the game hands out rewards in less generous ways compared to previous games. Finally, on October 19th, 2018, Kurt released a video on YouTube in which he announced that he was banned from the game, which was shortly followed by a more detailed statement in which he discussed what happened. His statement reads, quote, "So going into further details, I have been banned for 2 months for launching personal attacks on people. Now, for starters, the 2 months literally ruins my entire season, so it might as well be the whole year. Secondly, even if the ban was just a weekend, I will refuse to participate in another single event. I want every single person who I personally attacked to tell me that they felt bullied, harassed, etc., as EA put it to me. Now, launching personal attacks cannot be the real reason, because if that was the case, they might as well ban everyone. Heck, there is a screenshot of a pro wishing cancer upon an opponent, as well as other threatening each other, etc. No, the real reason is because I was right about everything to do with this company since day one. My words cut deeper than anyone's because the truth hurts more than anything. Some disagreed with the way I went about it, fair enough, but I had the right to voice my opinion even if it means upsetting certain people. The way the game is right now is unacceptable, and it's been like that for the last several years. They have done nothing to improve our situation. As a matter of fact, it keeps regressing with each year. As I said in my video, there is a simple way this gets resolved with me apologizing and refusing to upload more videos, but there is no chance in hell they're going to take my freedom of speech like that. My time with competitive FIFA is over regardless of what happens, but I obviously won't let them get away with this. I will be seeking legal advice and then proceed from there. Thank you already for the overwhelming support you have shown me. Later that day, EA released an official statement on Twitter about the situation, and that reads as follows. EA has a clear commitment to not tolerating abusive behavior towards the players and communities around our games, including offensive language, targeted threats, or personal harassment. That commitment is detailed in the Code of Conduct for the FIFA 19 Global Series. Due to repeated Code of Conduct violations, Kurt is suspended for 2 months from competitive play in the FIFA 19 Global Series. These violations include abusive behavior towards FIFA players and others in the FIFA community community. Now, I myself don't know or follow Kurt, so the only point of reference I have to go on are the things he said on Twitter and YouTube. From what I've seen, his criticism definitely tends to be on the harsher and more dramatic side. He's definitely thrown around insults or used language that could constitute as toxic. He doesn't really present himself in the most savory way, which doesn't help his case. But at the same time, the feedback he's had against FIFA 19 is shared by a significant number of people. So when EA's knee-jerk reaction was to ban the player without addressing any of the qualms that he and many others have expressed, it gave certain crowds the wrong impression. Granted, if you're in a position where you are doing something professionally, including playing games for a living, there are certain guidelines that you're expected to follow. But what's become worrisome to some is something that another competitive FIFA player, Skillshack, said about some of the stipulations involved with this profession. When asked why Kurt was banned, Skillshack pointed out that he himself had received an email a while ago which stipulated that FIFA pro players represented EA and whatnot, and in turn they were not allowed to express negative opinions of the game. I don't know about you, but to me, the notion that the only way you'll be allowed to compete professionally is by promising to never criticize the game you're basing your career on seems rather ridiculous, especially when we're dealing with video games, which update and change with each patch or each new entry. Obviously, there are lines that need to be drawn in terms of how far you can take your criticisms before they become too much. In Kurt's case, by resorting to toxic behavior rather than making his case in a more collected manner, he definitely brought some of what's happened on himself. But Kurt also claims that other professional FIFA players have said much worse things against each other and haven't suffered any consequences. And if we assume this is true, then it's reasonable for Kurt to believe that this ban had less to do with his behavior and more to do with him being critical about FIFA and EA, and with the publisher trying to shut his negative feedback down. When reached out by website Eurogamer, the one statement Kurt gave was, quote, "All I'm going to say is, if they're going to ban me for personal attacks, then loads of others should have got banned as well, but they didn't. The ban is completely unjustified and we will see what happens in the future, but this is far, far from over." Now, there are those pointing to the word Kurt being censored from squad names as further corroboration that EA is going out of their way to retaliate against one player. But there are multiple accounts clarifying that the word Kurt has been censored since way before the ban, so I'm not sure that this bit helps make a case. Either way, the main point to highlight here is that EA did not like the way Kurt behaved himself lately and brought down the hammer. Perhaps a better solution would have been for EA to contact Kurt so that the two could sit down and work things out amicably rather than immediately resort to the nuclear option. While Kurt may have brought this on himself by biting the hand that feeds him, by going against guidelines he might have agreed to when he became a professional FIFA player, I also cannot say I like the idea of punishing publicly expressed criticism towards a product that does leave much to be desired on multiple fronts. Skillshack's extra bit of insight raises the question of whether EA's intention with this extended career-marring ban was really all about Kurt's toxic behavior, or if it was more about punishing him for raising attention to the game's negative points as an affiliate of the company. Kurt was asking for consequences with how he presented himself, but some wonder whether the punishment actually fits the crime, and what EA's intentions actually were with the ban given what we know now about their guidelines for pro players. EA resorting to such an extensive ban is certainly not sitting well with certain crowds though, as they're convinced this is EA's way of shutting down criticism against FIFA 19, one of their most controversial games. But on the other end of the spectrum, there are those who, while they don't disagree with Kurt's intention of pointing out what's wrong with the game, do believe he asked for trouble and marred his case by resorting to what some might view as toxic behavior. All I'll say is that I believe there is a way to offer passionate criticism with finesse, that losing your cool just mars your argument. But at the same time, I don't believe that game companies should be restricting professional players' ability to express criticism in public. There is a way to go about it without instigating toxicity for sure, but from what Skillshack is saying, any form of negative feedback from signed pro players is something EA doesn't seem to allow, and that right there is a shitty stipulation indeed. These are one man's perspective anyway. I'd love to hear what your take is on EA's decision to ban Kurt after his condemnation of FIFA 19, EA, and the Yes Men in the comments below. With that, I would like to end this news update. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoy my content and would like to support this channel directly, consider donating on Patreon. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.